a brand new episode of ReSchool, the podcast that aims at bringing the world to school and taking the school to the world. Do you know how did you hear about ReSchool or this school or me? Through some media outlet, through some reel, through somebody who shared a WhatsApp message. And do you remember the last product that you bought? How did you buy it? Maybe you saw an advertisement. Maybe you heard about it in the news. But what about news? Do you see your parents, grandparents sitting and watching what the outcome of the next election is going to be about? Do you see them discussing and being embroiled in diverse viewpoints, talking about, oh God, this country and this world is going to dogs? That too is media. Media today shapes us. It shapes how we as a society interact with each other. It shapes what works, what doesn't, what flies off the shelf and what remains under the carpet. And to discuss more about media, its role in our wider society and media in schools and schools with media, we have with us two very interesting guests who are going to take us on a journey of understanding how do we navigate this information-laden and heavily media-driven world with us. So, thank you so much for coming over to the ReSchool podcast, and we would love to know more about you. And in our customary style, what we would want to know from you is what makes you do what you're doing? Because it is not about what you do presently. It is about knowing why are you doing what you're doing and what helped you get here. So, yeah, do you want to begin?
Yeah, sure. First of all, Minal, thank you so much having me here, and it is a wonderful setup. Yeah, so for me, design is something I always be a part of design with my parent business as well. So I belong to a family which is, it's like a 4th generation company, and that's JK Masale, and we all are into same industry, which is we manufacture spices, and we do a lot of export, we do domestic.
So you like quite literally spice up the society.
Yeah,
it's
very much.
Mirchi dalo, interesting.
Yeah, so मसाला भाई करके काफी लोग बोलते थे कॉलेज एंड स्कूल में कि आ गया कुछ तो मसाला आएगा सुमित, कुछ तो मसाला आएगा बात में. So yeah, so that is the thing. So वहाँ पे मैंने अपने ही कंपनी में सीखा कि why this advertising is important, because we are FMCG brand and it's very, very competitive globally. And yeah, so that's how it started. And देखते I picked camera, and so I fell in love with camera and photography, and that's one thing. And eat sleep for camera wala cheez ho gaya tha. Yeah, so wildlife was one thing which gave me the opportunity to meet people, be in nature at the same time, and met so many like-minded people at the same time. So yeah, that's beautiful journey, and that led me to the design world. I met so many wonderful personality in that line कि उनको डिज़ाइन में थे, वो एडवर्टाइजिंग में थे, तो उनसे समझे how things work, which helped में अब हमारे खुद का ब्रांड को लेकर in that spices business. Yeah, so then one day I always wanted to get into design studio. So my approach was studio always. I don't like calling myself as an agency, because agency is like okay, you are into social media. Moreover, we are a creative studio. Yeah, so we do a lot of creative work, we write, we love to explore, we love to ideate with the client, and internally also we do a lot of different ideation for the brand. क्या करना चाहिए, खुद के लिए क्या करें, दूसरे के लिए क्या करें, क्या नया सोचा जाए. Yeah, so that's the thing.
So you're saying that you were born in this family which had a traditional business.
Exactly.
And you happen to see a need within the family business of saying that, but how are we talking about ourselves? But that part of the business inspired you so much that you actually spun a new business out of it.
Exactly.
Talk about entrepreneurship and founder mindset. Like anything can happen,
Yeah,
right?
true,
So if you're looking at like if there's one hustle that's there, I think it's the Marwadi businessman and who can kind of, if I sense an opportunity, I am going to make the most of it.
Exactly.
So,
Yeah.
really happy to hear that.
Thank you so much.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yes, Janvi.
I've been a journalist for 10 years, but what's interesting is how I reached here.
Yes.
So I come from a town where I grew up reading Times of India, and it used to reach us 3 days late than the usual date because it was a remote village and it didn't have people reading or speaking in English.
All right.
But being an introvert child, like even in school, you would always find me in libraries, then on playgrounds, I always knew that I wanted to explore some form of writing. It's just that I didn't knew which one. And eventually this love for writing led me to writing for newspapers when I was in Rajkot, still in college. And I think that's where I got my first freelancing job, and I've been writing since I was 19 for newspapers.
Oh, okay. Great. So you are this small town girl who has been reading stale newspapers. Yeah. Okay, today if I have to look at a 3-day-old newspaper, it is Raddi. Yeah. Nobody really wants to pick it up. Newspapers in the line of media, and probably people like you have only taught me that newspapers die by the afternoon. So, but you grew up in a time where even 3 days later, there's the pleasure of just going through it and kind of reading it. And the world of words inspired you so much that you wanted to continue just collaborating with newspapers and writing for them.
I say that this is the longest committed relationship I've ever been in.
And in today's world, 10 years is a long time.
It's a long time.
True. So that brings me to the next part of saying, Janvi, you work in a media world which is very different than his world, right?
Yeah.
In your world, the media plays often the role of divisiveness. Often polarization is at least attested to how media is putting it. Yeah. Whether true, untrue is something that we do not know. But our world is getting more and more polarized, our environments are getting more and more divisive. So what do you think? Is this happening really? And what do you think we could do at a school level or at a media level to say, what are we looking at? And
Sure.
how do we handle this?
So when we say that media is dividing, it is a very complex issue. It cannot be like put in a like one word thing. So it's always a nexus of a lot of agents. So it is media, it is government, and sometimes with the government there are entrepreneurs. And this is how, as an audience, you get what you get.
What you get.
Yeah. So as students, as people, it is very important to understand that whenever we blame a reporter or whenever we blame an article, this person has written this, students should always look at the bigger picture. Like, okay, this is the reporter who has written this, but then who is the editor? Which is the publication?
True.
Who is funding the publication? Is it some politician or is it some businessman? What are their vested interests? Yeah. So one thing is understanding the pyramid of all of it. And the second thing is many a times when say journalists write or report on something which looks or sounds polarizing, we also need to understand that where it is coming from, in the sense that is it just the voice of what's actually happening in the society? Because many a times when we give it a headline, it is mostly spoken by a politician, it's mostly spoken by someone else, and that's why it is where it is.
The headline.
So these are the things that students need to look at. And the other thing which even journalists are trying to learn, and I think students should also, is fact checking.
Exactly.
Is trying to identify what's news and what's not news, because now what's media and what's social media and what's not media, it's again very diluted.
It's a mishmash. It is difficult. There are times when I look through newspapers and the advertorials are so nicely woven into the story. It is difficult to tell that is this a voice of the newspaper or is this a brand's take on certain things. That said, what you're saying is that as students and as educated adults, we need to take even a story that comes in newspaper with a pinch of salt. We need to kind of cross-check or at least understand it in the larger context. Just taking one thing out of it and creating mindset saying, oh, this is the truth and the only truth, probably doesn't work. There are so many nuances that exist around any story. So what I find also very fascinating is that when it comes to newspapers, while there's a lot that's there in a newspaper, there is a lot that is missed out. There is so much that is left out. So that also is the art of editing, to say what is it that I really need to
True.
kind
So this is an inside joke. When we journalists sit together informally over chai, we discuss about stories that never get into newspapers. And that's what the real stories are, you know. Which
Oh, okay. So then here is your environment to tell us one such real story that never made it to...
There are so many things. Sometimes an interview with a politician, or sometimes what you discuss, you know, like whenever we call people from different political parties together for a debate, they are really fighting, you know, on camera. But off camera, they're just talking about the biscuits and the chai and, you know.
They're just normal people about...
normal people. And, and they're friends. And then many a times when viewers see it, they take sides that, you know, we are just supporting this political party, or we just, you know, for this political party. But they don't understand the leaders are friends. You may not be.
I like that. So it's like TV पे ये दिखता है कि ये दोनों एक दूसरे को अब भी मतलब, you know, they're going to get at loggerheads and probably
And
punch
sometimes
it.
they even do that. Sometimes they even do that on camera, but off camera, it's a very different reality. And the leaders, or, you know, the spokesperson, they're really cordial with each other, and sometimes they even hang out with. It's not so bad as it looks on television.
Okay. A note for all of us: the world, media, and the political environment is not as bad as it looks on TV. So yes, please understand, people, that a lot of times it is about gathering eyeballs. It is about making sure that you get more and more viewpoints.
This is where politicians become actors.
School leaders have become podcast creators.
See, in the end, people need story, right?
True.
In the end, people want some masala, not a regular story.
Not
every
JK
day.
masala.
No, not the JK masala. Of course, why not? Yeah, please.
So yeah, and I would like to know from you, when we look at the world today, while there are a lot of people who are interested in, say, marketing, media and all of it, the general attitude that society has towards marketing per se is a little apprehensive. If anybody is trying to market something, it feels as if this person or this product is not good enough and hence needs to be pushed, and hence is being marketed. Well, everybody enjoys good marketing and is kind of a part of it, but there is this not inhibition, but there is this misunderstanding of what marketing is. So can you tell me a little bit about what the society should be looking at as marketing, and what is it that we are missing?
Yeah, that's so true actually. First of all, design and branding and marketing, everyone needs it. Okay. Be it a writer to design their book, bottle design, whatever it is, car, everyone needs it. But they don't understand one thing: design is something, you know, they feel now in this industry, right now the scenario is, it's so easy access with the online softwares, online
Oh yeah, you go on Canva,
yeah,
and you have your...
I was just not using the word Canva, but it's true.
True.
You know, the kind of, you know, there used to be time, the kind of, you know, the feedback we used to get from the client, I'm sure most of the people will relate to it. Oh, ये तो हम Canva में बना देते हैं.
Yeah. Canva Pro.
Yeah, so exactly. So they feel design is easy.
Agree.
And they know everything about it when
they don't.
They don't.
When they don't.
So the thing, what I always want, and I always tell my team to communicate with the client clearly.
Okay.
Talk to them. Rapport banao. Understand what, because you are running this institute for 15 years.
True.
I just entered as a media company, or maybe, you know, designing anything of your product or services. I need to answer, you know, need to ask you questions.
True.
And people need to give that answer clearly, very clearly. They are clients, they are people who know what they want. They know what they want, I'm so sorry. So exactly, you know, that make a designer their job easy.
Okay.
Because I know what wants. So exactly we'll work on that line. And yeah, people are confused because भीड़ हो गई है बहुत ज़्यादा. Social media is it's loaded with ideas, loaded with many things. There used to be time I like to go traditional way. I like to research. I like to read about it. Like her, I like to read newspaper. खो गया है. हमने purposely बोला कि newspaper चाहिए. Beat में पढ़ो कि नहीं पढ़ो यहाँ होना चाहिए. So that's the thing. Yeah.
What you're saying is that media or advertising cannot exist if I don't know the product that I'm advertising.
Exactly.
So mindless churning of advertisements or mindless putting up of hoardings and just pushy advertisement,
True.
which is not even reflective of the actual product,
Yeah.
is what is a problem. As an agency or as a studio,
Yeah.
it is important for us, for at least you to say, how do I retain the essence of it? How do I understand before I talk about it?
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
And you spoke of design. So can you expand a little more in terms of, say, design and how design principles can be woven into schools, or how can we design better communication for schools? And when I'm talking design, I'm not talking about the visual communication design. Ye logo yahan laga do, wo laga do. That is not the design that. So how can we schools reschool ourselves in designing better communication? Or the other part, if you want to try, is what is it that we schools do wrong in communication? So what is it that we goof up, mess up, and when it comes to communication?
Yeah, so first of all, this is the foundation. Of course, you are making kids, understand about the design. You're giving them exposure.
Are we? Because
Yes.
oftentimes we are just giving them exams, marks. I'm not
Even
talking
that
about
is important
particular.
at the same
I'm
time.
not talking about our particular school, but generally speaking,
Yeah, I understand.
schooling as a system.
Yeah, we're talking about
Schooling as a
overall.
system.
Yeah, they are a different type of schools. They believe in only in sports, maybe only academic, only the different activities. There should be a mix of things. Not only academic going to help, not only activities going to help, but mix of things. It is something required. And and I believe that this is the foundation for any kid.
Okay.
To understand, because they come from a different background. They come from their parents are from a different background. They don't understand.
Okay.
Even parents should understand कि नहीं और इसको music करना, let them do it. Even it's an art.
Okay.
If I talk about art is everywhere.
Art is everywhere.
So photography is an art, writing is an art.
Okay.
Design is an art. So, and I truly believe that traditional approach is really needed now.
Okay.
Because it is just a click and your content is ready. And I
Alright.
don't believe in that line,
Oh, okay.
which is AI. And most of the kids, they know about it because everyone has a phone. Everyone has a intelligent friend who will guide her or him. Dude, ऐसे कर. Easy है. खाली एक line डाल, सब आ जाएगा.
हाँ.
No, but you are not using a creative brain. You're not
Okay.
using a creative eyes to see.
Okay.
So that's how I always give my 100% to the camera, because the camera gave me vision, the perspective to look things differently. Everyone has it, but they don't see
They don't see it.
in a viewfinder way.
True. So, but my question is more about saying, what do we schools need to do better in communication? So when we are communicating with, say, the outer world, or when we are communicating with our own parents, you being one of them. So how can we improve, generally speaking, how can schools communicate better with the society at large? You can take your time and think about it. We'll probably.
Yeah, sure.
Your question to him reminded me of education when it comes to journalism or media and what they do wrong.
True.
I'll tell you this because I don't have formal education in media.
Okay.
I studied management and then eventually, media happened. I now go for recruitment to journalism schools.
Okay.
And when we pick up students to work in media houses, we have to make them unlearn everything.
Oh God.
That bhul jao.
We do such bad job that you have to go and wash it out. Right?
No, we have to literally tell them that wo jo sikhaya tha wo wahan pe theek tha, but here the rules are different.
Okay.
Theory and practical are very different, and it is in most fields, but here it is 360-degree shift.
Okay.
I have to tell that when you study management or when you study science, the practicals are different, but here it is very different, because I think when it comes to education in journalism and media field, it really needs to evolve a lot better, especially I don't think it's in sync with the way media works in the country. And many a times it's still just going by the books and having little idea of how a newsroom actually works, what kind of pressure, what kind of deadlines, what kind of ethics are required,
Or the lack of it.
or the are required to be in that space.
Okay.
I strongly feel that.
So you're saying that even while we recruit students who have been trained in that particular degree, you're talking about college and higher ed and all of that, you still have to end up retraining them or reschooling them to be able to become effective in the space.
Yes. So when we hire them and we have to pay them salaries, we sometimes feel like they should be paying us to, educate them.
I wish. I so much relate to it. Same here. I so wish.
Oftentimes we end up, so say we work with teachers, okay, a majority of our workforce is teachers. Now training a teacher in understanding what our school or our systems and processes are is our job. That remains for us to do. But training a teacher who has a BA degree in basic classroom management, training a teacher who has an ECC, early childhood degree, in basic phonics, training a teacher who has a diploma or a 5-year, 7-year experience in saying I've worked with XYZ school, but is unable to handle or a single-handedly a basic daily lesson plan, is what we end up doing. So just recently I read about it that our schooling system is so broken that, and I think it is known by everybody, that at a larger level we have 20 to 30% of students who can't, of grade 3, who can't even read and write. At grade 7, we have students who are unable to form a single sentence even in their own mother tongue, a written sentence even in their mother tongue. So that's the kind of environment. However, these students keep getting pushed ahead. They end up at grade 10, 12, and eventually they are pushed to say, हाँ, pass हो जाओगे, ये हो जाएगा, वो हो जाएगा. And then they graduate with a degree. But that degree earns them no jobs. Yeah. That degree is so futile that that child is wondering, what did I do wrong? Yeah. Even if we leave out those 20 or 30% who couldn't read or write, even those who pass are unable to actually meet the requirements of a workplace. And then the cost of working with that person is passed on to us as employers. Because we end up, as you rightly said, paying them in order to learn at our time. So it's the unfortunate scene, and honestly speaking, when I say us and them, I believe the major ill begins with us as schools. So there is no way as school leaders we can escape this and say that this is what we have done, but that's the truth of it. The costs are just being passed on, and of course they come back to us also, because we end up training our teachers so much more than what we would have budgeted for, right?
But I think schools should just teach on how to learn, or how to bring in that attitude to learn, and leave everything on the job seekh lenge bacche. Because if you don't have that, so your survival becomes difficult in the job market.
Yeah, because what has also happened is the change cycles are so fast. What was true, say, earlier from one technology to another, the change would take earlier it would take hundreds of years. So we were on chariots and all of that for a good part of our entire human existence, till the steam engine came in. From the steam engine to the cars, it was 200 to 300 years. From the cars to cars and aeroplanes becoming commonplace, it was 30-40 years. Yeah. So letters were there forever, for thousands of years. Then the telegram comes in. Telegram to telephone is 100 years. Telephone to WhatsApp messages and to instant messaging is only a matter of 50, 60 years. So yeah, those change cycles are so fast that for us to be able to learn it, keep up with it is exhausting. We have to constantly train and retrain ourselves. So yeah, do you want to tell us a little more about how do you keep yourself updated or train and retain your own team members? So
Yeah, so it's not one day thing.
Okay.
It's a daily exercise. I believe work in a very not casual, but yeah, in a very natural way.
Okay.
So design ऐसा नहीं है कि yes मैंने सोचा and I have an idea. We talk, we discuss, we do a lot of research. There is no such tool available. I mean, I'm sure design school में भी ये कुछ सिखाया नहीं कि this is the website, go there and you'll find the design.
I doubt.
You have to see everywhere, each and everything. Even from the people who are already into this industry, उनका page से भी you get an idea. अच्छा, this is the thing. Sometime, I believe to go back in times like you said, aeroplane से कैसे आया. So I still believe, recreating or maybe उनको studying their old art, which is for example, Matani Pachedi art.
Okay.
ठीक है.
So all for old art forms.
All art forms. So I want to use it in our current style language. कि उसको मैं कैसे use करूँ, वो जाएगा कि नहीं जाएगा, किस तरीके से जाएगा. So we recreate. So for us, it's not just a tool, Photoshop or maybe a design software is just a tool. So I still, like I said earlier, I like to go in a traditional way. We do a lot of sketching, we do a lot of illustration kind of work. So for me, art is like that. For me, the inspiration is that कि yes, कुछ बनाते हैं आज, कुछ करते हैं. Let's do some scribbling, let's do some doodling, let's play around with the things, let's play around with the color. And like you said, पहले when you ask कि स्कूल को क्या बच्चों को बताना चाहिए कि पहली बात तो डरना नहीं चाहिए एक्सपेरिमेंट करने से पहले. ये आज सुबह की बात है, जैसे कि आई वाज जस्ट सिटिंग विद वन ऑफ माय डिज़ाइनर एंड वो कुछ ना कुछ करे जा रहा, ही गॉट स्टक. मतलब डर क्यों रहा है, ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा क्या होगा. मैं ग्रुप में नो ही लिखूंगा ना, प्लीज़ वर्क अगेन, उससे ज़्यादा कुछ नहीं होगा. इन हाफ एन आवर ही शोड मी माइंड ब्लोइंग डिज़ाइन. कुछ नहीं किया, ही जस्ट प्लेड अराउंड विद द कलर, उसने और मिनिमल अप्रोच ले लिया. सो मुझे लगा कि मेरे को वहाँ डांटना नहीं, आई एम नॉट द बॉस हियर, वी आर जस्ट पार्ट एज अ टीम. हम वी लेट्स कीप ऑन नेवर स्टॉप डूइंग एक्सपेरिमेंट्स, कीप ऑन डूइंग, आई मीन कुछ ना कुछ करते रहना चाहिए दैट वे.
Okay, so you're saying that as schools, the first thing we need to, if we really want the schools to breed creativity and to allow for it, the first thing we need to take away is fearfulness. Is to allow them to be themselves, because it is only when I'm not fearful of a reprimand that I'm even going to try to be original.
Exactly.
Otherwise, I'm just pandering to the boss. Otherwise, I'm just kind of seeking validation.
So we have some, few artists are they just scared coming in my cabin. Dude, please come in here.
आप कुछ तो करते होगे.
No, they are.
It just looks so intimidating.
No, but this could be their, previous job style, or maybe.
Yeah.
That's not my culture style of, the culture is different.
I agree.
So I have to tell them, by Dharmat, you have any idea, please bring some ideas. Let's talk. You want to have a coffee? Let's have a coffee together. So that's a simple culture, I believe, and it's a natural flow.
So, yeah, what you're saying is right. There are times when people quite literally fear going up to authority. And we experience this very often in our schools. So students who come from different schools to us, transfer students and all that, so very often they will, the first week they will come and sit in their own space. So they will just sit like that. Within a week's time, they realize that, oh, I have the freedom of movement, I have the freedom of mind. And the stricter environment that they come from, the more their spring, just goes off. So the stricter environment that they come from, the worse is their behavior in the ensuing weeks. Because that spring which has been pressed, it suddenly loosens up. And for a few weeks, they just go berserk. Okay, so they will try all kinds of shenanigans and all of it. And it was only after a few weeks that they realized that this is real, that I do not have to act out to maintain this freedom that I have. And that is when they settle in. So it's so true. People, when they come from different environments, they have so much baggage. They carry so much on their shoulders that they don't even realize that I'm acting out because of my past experiences. Because I'm so accustomed to walking like this or sitting like this or not knocking or not asking, not taking chances. Because from a very young age, these schools take it away. So yeah, it's, I mean, when this happens in adults environment or when this happens in companies, I always bring everything back to schools to say, हाँ हम स्कूल में ऐसा करते हैं इसलिए कंपनी में ऐसा हो रहा है. At some level, I feel we, I can relate. Oh yeah, when somebody raises, so in work environments, offices, when you ask questions or when you say ask seeking opinion, there will be people who will put up their hands gingerly like this. हाँ बोलना हो या ना बोलना हो ऐसे 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 हाथ करेंगे. So I'm like, what is this? It is either a yes or it is a no. Like what is this? But it is because they are so used to it.
From the classroom, it
From
starts
the
to the
classroom
boardroom.
to
yeah.
boardroom. There's just a clear connect that you'll be able to see.
So whenever we hire 3-4 year experience, so same agency experience, design background experience, कुछ चीज़ें बहुत amazing तब होती है जब आते हैं and they come with an idea. Sir, we used to do this in our पहले वाली company में we used to do this and we used to enjoy and I want to adapt this. Well, yes, let's do it. So I really like they are not craving about their past job and whatever and they have I don't want to say it in a way, but they have used and they have picked one negative word which is toxic. I don't know why it's so recently, last 4-5 years, it's so famous, this word. So the environment was very toxic.
Very toxic.
Dude, come on.
Sometimes they are.
It is, but this is like common thing when you do interview. So
Okay.
that's not the excuse, that's not the point.
Okay.
And I really like if they have come with some good culture or maybe they learn from that and they, we adapt here also. Why
No,
not?
because I think here people forget that these are not products, these are human beings. We have a
Exactly.
human resource, but we don't see that these are human resource. And I think that's why the toxic culture, because
True.
I see from the other side, because I've been an employee, so I know what a toxic culture looks like, feels
Yeah,
like.
I absolutely agree.
yeah.
And toxicity takes its roots so deeply that it manifests in everything, not just in your work output, but also back home. So when I have been in a part of an environment which is relatively toxic, back home I'm going to be a very restless person. But what you are saying is the other end of saying that oftentimes toxicity is used as a buzzword, is used as an excuse.
That's what I was, yes.
Is used as this idea of saying that, oh, I cannot be pushing myself or I cannot be doing anything extra, I cannot be going the extra mile because guess what, I am not supposed to do that and this was toxic. So I'm sure there is some misuse, but I am very convinced that it exists.
It exists.
That it exists.
Yes, they are.
Because the general attitude is कि मैंने इसमें 20,000 डाले मुझे वसूल करना है. There is no scope for sensitivity in that environment, and many times employees don't even know that this behavior is not
It's
right.
toxic. But Janvi, that also brings me to this. Do you think this toxicity exists or is being perpetuated because the people who join in are, as you said, being trained by the employers, are not really bringing in the value that they were hired for, or are really not bringing in the skills that they've so-called claimed, but they are being treated this way because the employer knows that I can get away with this. The boss or the toxic boss remains because, hey, in any case, I am the one who's putting a lot of effort in you, so I might as well just treat you like this, which is unfair, which is inhuman. But I'm just asking, do you think this is what is leading?
So where can the employee go wrong? I claim for the skill set, but I don't come on time, or say there are other traits which do not work. But how do you, there can be a civilized way of dealing with things, instead of shouting or giving promotions to someone and not to someone because of other things than your skill set or talent. So I'm talking about all of those things which everything is important, everything becomes important than the work. I'm talking about that sort of a culture which I have seen in media industries, and I have a very strong problem with that. Yeah.
I'm sure everybody does. Recently, there was a note by the EY employee who died by suicide, and the mother wrote about it. And then entire India was up in arms to say that yes, this exists. It was almost a Me Too movement of the corporate culture and all of that. So, yeah, it does. And I think we are also perpetuating it in the name of competition. We are also perpetuating it in the name of being more productive and all of that. So,
yeah. And here I also feel that that's why I think the traditional way of working, people who are conditioned of working in traditional way, they say that Gen Z ke saath humse kaam nahi hota. We will not hire them. Companies are putting it, we can't work with Gen Zs, because I think
there's Gen Alpha that's coming.
Yeah.
And so just wait for that.
Yes, just wait for that.
Because I don't think the ways you worked and your way of bringing or taking work from people will really work with the younger generation. They'll be blatant of saying, we don't want to work here. And they're smart enough to do something on their own.
So, all right. So, give me an example of one such incident that you've had, and both of you, I'd love to know from you, to say how do we need to shift our lens to work with the new generation? How do we need to reschool ourselves to retain or get the best out of our own human resources? So, any incident that you can think of, any idea that you believe that has worked or not worked, and don't try this is not going to work.
Of working with the younger generation.
Yes, because while we have the youngest generation with us, these are the same people who end up as being the first workforce for industries like yours.
True. Before we go on that, I'll just say that how I've been dealing with the younger lot is I have put like the literal post on LinkedIn that if there are Gen Zs reading it, or even the generation younger than that, then I would consciously want to be friends with you. You can DM me, because I think that people who would post or saying we have XYZ number of experience, I think they should be friends with the younger generation, because they are going to be our next biggest consumer, next biggest employer or employee. And I think we need to understand and learn their language, speak in their language, and just not bring that line, hamare zamane mein to ye hota tha, which even a millennial like me, sometimes ends up using. So that is one thing that we need to understand their words before criticizing them.
This is going to be there कि हमारे ज़माने में ऐसा होता, क्योंकि हमने भी यही सुना था बचपन में.
हाँ.
Yeah.
Remember?
Oh yeah, our parents dished it out very often.
Still they use such word. हम लोग तो ऐसा करते हैं. So of course, तो बताइए हम भी करेंगे. Yeah.
True. So yeah, moving forward, while I have been asking questions and you have been answering them very graciously, I would love to have you ask me and each other any and every question that you believe. And you can always use the book ReSchool, and kind of, if there's anything from there that you would want to ask me about, or...
Yeah,
Yes.
I would love to ask you something about the
Yes,
book,
please.
first of all, because I really like the title of the book.
Okay, thank you.
So how did you
Come up with
this?
I think very simple. There's a book I really love and adore. It's called Rework. Yeah, I really enjoy it, and this is pretty much on those lines. And the whole idea is that while the world of work needs to be different, the world of school definitely needs to be different. So yeah, so that's where it spawned from. And I think since the beginning, even when we started with this school with 21 students, we've always been, I'm a rebel at heart, so I've always tried to, oh yeah, I am, big one. So I've always tried to ask questions of saying, why at an existential level? So schools should have classrooms, why? Why do I need to teach this at this age? Why am I even doing this? So I've literally educated myself from, say, John Taylor Gatto to Sir Ken Robinson's How Schools Kill Creativity, to this whole idea of saying, what is the purpose of schools? Oftentimes we forget that schools are only 150 years old. Human history has been alive, kicking and intelligent for millennia. Humankind has been intelligent forever. Schools are 150, 200 years old. But God forbid, as a school, if we give you a certificate of saying you don't know this skill, you are going to feel like, oh, the world has come crashing down.
Yeah.
It hasn't. These schools have no monopoly over knowledge. So we need to understand that humbling aspect of saying that we're just a part of a larger society. And then when you look at schools, the environment that comes out is very different. So Yeah, so that's why ReSchool.
Oh, that's nice.
Thank you.
How do you see schools changing? In the sense, do you see any breakthrough, or we are going to continue as we are, like, or do you see any shifts in the future?
Do I see it? No, but is it going to happen? Yes. And it's going to sweep under our feet and we won't even realize it. So it's only schools who are open and agile enough to make those changes will be able to handle that change. Like say for example, the AI, simple. Now this is just the first generation of AI that we are looking at, right? This is going to get much better and much more sophisticated. My son recently had an exam and all of that, and he's not a very academic person, okay? So he was struggling and he's like, ye bahut sara hai, itna sara main nahi padta, kind of a thing. He's like, what the hell? Like, I'm a basketball person, give me a ball, I'm good. Ye kaun karta hai? Then I was like, listen beta, whether you like it or not, this is a part of your life. So tell me, how do we sit and handle it? So after that Gnan session, he finally understood कि माँ छोड़ेगी नहीं तो ये कुछ तो करना ही पड़ेगा kind. So then he goes to ChatGPT. He has a PDF of his syllabus. He uploads that entire PDF and asks, ask ChatGPT to make a timetable. So I have 20 days to my exam. Can you make me a timetable where I have to revise what on every single day? So he gets like a day-to-day wise timetable. Then this chap is tech savvy, so he has figured out some VPN something and has access to Khan Migo, which is like the AI version of Khan Academy. And then I get him like a subscription to Khan Migo, and he uses Khan Migo to learn everything that he has not been able to learn at the teacher's pace in the classroom. And by the end of it, and then because I'm a curious person and I want to see how students interact with tech, I go back and read his chats with Khan Migo. So I'm like, okay, मुझे दिखा तूने आज क्या बातें की, and then now as a family, I've started to address Khan Migo as a tutor. So I'm like, आज Migo ने क्या पढ़ाया तेरे को, आज Migo से क्या बात की, and then I would go back and look at it, and you should see there are chats that run over like 40 minutes, 50 minutes. Because Khan Migo is designed as a tutor to help students understand and not just throw knowledge. In ChatGPT, if you ask something, it will give you the answer. Khan Migo will ask you questions to arrive at that answer. So it's a very interesting interface. But what I saw in that was that in one particular chat, after 30-40 minutes of chat, he ended it with a thank you. So my son wrote thank you with a long U. So there is like, those about 20-30 times you likhte hain kind of a thing. He was so elated. He was so happy that he could finally grasp what bloody mitochondria or whatever it was that he was studying. But he could do it at his own pace, his own time, and he could ask questions. So while this has happened in a very controlled environment, I know this is possible. It's just about time that this becomes the norm, that this becomes the default method and all of that. But what are the things we're going to need before that? We're going to need teachers who can handle this. We are going to need assessment systems who acknowledge this. We are going to need students who have access to this. So till that happens, probably schools will continue to be who they are. They will keep their head under the carpet and kind of wonder that, oh, nothing around us has changed and we need to exist just the way we existed 150 years ago. But
this really made me feel that there should be sessions where you make students teach something to adults.
We do that very regularly. So So
because I was really like some university of someone like introduced a whole course on how to be an influencer, where young people are actually teaching adults, how to
do that,
how to become one. And I think this young generation has all the potential to teach the adults instead of the other way around.
And they have all the tools with them.
Yes.
So in a way, this gizmos, that mobile, that iPad, it is helpful, like your son got, and it's very, interesting.
Yeah.
It is very interesting and very smart thing to do.
Yeah, his marks come out tomorrow, so now I will know what he has actually been chatting with Migo.
Yeah.
So far he's just been telling me I've done it. I really don't know what's going to come out of it.
I think it's a beauty at the same time because he found the way, a solution, or maybe something. वहाँ रुक नहीं गया मैं.
That's what I am also.
And we are not stuck, you know, so that is the
It's
good.
a lifetime of problem solving. So,
Exactly.
if you figured this out, that this is how I can find my solution, I am more than okay with it.
But-
The degree, the marks, the exam, while they matter, they're really not the
Exactly.
defining moment and all
True,
of that.
true.
Okay, so your questions to me, I hope I've been able to answer. Okay, to each other.
I'm not sure if it's a question, but I just wanted to share something, because as a journalist, we deal on a day-to-day basis with PR people who come to us saying, "Ye chap do, wo chap do," and it's mostly around a brand or a person who who wants to do personal branding. I think that really needs to change. It's many a times it's people who are into marketing or people who are into PR, they come to us and they have little idea on what gets published and what will definitely get rejected. So I think that really needs to be worked upon. I don't think they understand कि as a journalist अगर मैंने ये लिख दिया मेरी नौकरी जा सकती है. Or now in media houses they have something as a media net, where if you want to publish something on a brand or a personal brand or get something paid, you go through them, you don't come to me directly. So these are the nuances which I think that people who are into marketing or PR really need to work upon.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah, at the same time, if you see any newspaper, I don't know, name it, you find maximum, the newspaper is filled with advertising.
Yeah. Oh, there
Okay,
are times when I have
because-
to reach the headlines, you have to flip through 3 pages.
Exactly. I know what I want to read. I know it's going to be on page 8 or 6 or 3, whatever it is. I love to read about page 3 because I want to, read about the celebrities, how it's going, right? But ads from start to end. Now they have another thing called sleeves, jacket. So flip it, where is the main page?
No, I don't want to justify that publication, but
Yeah.
I can tell about advertisements and publications, because newspapers or media organizations are also not NGOs. We have a typical image
Exactly.
of journalists where they go with Jola,
True.
but things are changing. People have EMIs to pay, people have salaries to pay, and a journalist from First Post said this line, and it really stayed with me, that today the highest, the best of editors are paid less than a flop actor.
True.
Now these are the salary scales in media houses, and as a journalist or as someone who is an insider, I would want to see more ads or more people collaborating with media, because that's how an ecosystem works, because ultimately there are people and there are salaries and there are employees.
Yeah, and
Exactly.
there are additional costs that are entailed. Okay. So, all right. So, we are not
Yeah.
at loggerheads and we are not trying to
exactly.
justify one
So
against
that
the
is
other.
nothing to.
So, yeah, in the ever increasing media guzzling environment, I think the advertisements are ubiquitous. So, they exist everywhere and they are going to increase more and more. I believe we will just need a little more educated approach to how we consume it. And as schools, we will just need to enable our own students to say, how do you really look at something and not get fully influenced by it? Not take something just at its face value, but take a step back and see how this has been designed. What is it really telling me? Tell the difference between a well-designed, whether it's an article or an advertisement, doesn't matter. Having that critical outlook to say, okay, what is it that this is really trying to tell me, is what we'll have to train our students on. Great. And yeah. And do you have any other questions for any?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, it is, for me, journalism is a very exciting and interesting, subject. And as a journalist, I have met so many, good people who writes and who talks amazingly. I still, now, अब क्या हो गया, दुनिया YouTube पे आ गई, for example, they make a 1 hour का video regarding, and they genuinely they genuinely study before talking, It is not just कुछ भी मन में आया तो views बढ़ाने के लिए. So they actually do a back story.
There is a lot of homework that they
They
do.
do a lot of homeworks, exactly. So yeah. So how do you think if in middle school itself, journalism is a one thing which is it is old, like marketing is old, like advertising is old, digital is new in a way, right? So पहले तो जो पेपर था, पैम्पलेट्स थे, पोस्टर्स हुआ करते थे. आई स्टिल लव ओल्ड स्टाइल, ओल्ड स्कूल स्टाइल. आई लव प्रिंटिंग
Okay.
things,
So, yeah.
So how do you think she needs to taught? Yeah, from
I don't think we need to teach students on how to present news, because I think students know that better than us. But all we can teach them is what is news and what is not news, what is sensationalization and what is PR. I think these are the nuances that we need to teach students on how to present them. I think they are already doing it far better than many, mainstream journalists. But when you say that, YouTube pe ye sab hota hai, I'll just dive into this history of media, where earlier media industry was a very, it was for few people. It like we have even in caste system that, the most knowledgeable people are the upper caste. So news mein bhi yahi hota tha, you either you're preparing for UPSC or, you not cleared UPSC to tum journalist ban jate ho, wo level pe rehta tha. It was very centralized, and now due to social media it is decentralized, and so I don't have to belong to that cloud to, to become a journalist. And I think that's been the best thing that has happened, that without a lot of investment, because to start a print media, to start a newspaper used to be incredibly huge cost.
Huge.
Even today, prohibitively expensive.
Yeah.
It is.
You can't.
So I see it as a beautiful change, that you can be sitting in a village and can be starting your own publication. To give you a very good example, there is something called as Bodeli Live, if I am pronouncing the name correct. It is there is a person in Chota Udaipur. It's like a tribal community, Chota Udaipur, and they are creating their own news कि हमारे गांव में क्या हो रहा है. So many villages in India, or so many people just go unnoticed. They are just part of the statistics. वो मर जाते तो death toll होता है. There's no other existence, and now you have an access to what's happening in that village. जहाँ पानी नहीं पहुँचा शायद railways नहीं पहुँची, but these are the stories that can happen now just because media is decentralized, just because they are active on YouTube. And as a journalist, this really makes me proud.
It is, it is. So that is what gives you hope.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. And with that, we come to an end. I'd just like to thank both of you for being such wonderful guests and for blessing us with your presence. And I hope this conversation has helped all of us understand the power of media, the power of good design, and the power of just looking at nuances, of having critical outlook, rather than just taking things on face value. Thank you so much.